It was exactly 1:14 in the morning when the sharp blue glow of my tablet illuminated the dark, quiet corners of our living room. I had been sitting in the deep leather armchair near the front window for nearly 3 hours, watching the silhouettes of the oak trees sway gently against the yellow streetlights outside. My wife, Julianne, was supposed to be at a corporate dinner, a mandatory networking event, she had called it when she left our house in her best dress at 6 o'clock that evening. She had promised, with a quick, distracted kiss on my cheek, that she would be home no later than 10. But as the hours stretched on, her phone went straight to voicemail, and the empty space beside me on the couch grew colder. I almost didn't open the social media app. I had spent the last several hours trying to convince myself to just go upstairs to bed, to sleep off the familiar, heavy knot of anxiety that had lived in my chest for the last 8 months. But a persistent instinct, a quiet voice that refused to be ignored, nudged me to unlock the screen. The notification was simple. Julianne had just shared a new post. When the image finally loaded, it felt like a physical blow to my chest. The photo was taken at a high-end rooftop lounge downtown, a place bathed in deep crimson and violet neon lights. Julianne was laughing, her head tilted back in a moment of pure, unforced joy that I hadn't seen in our home for years. She was holding a vibrant, glowing cocktail in her hand, surrounded by a group of fashionable strangers. But it wasn't just the party atmosphere that made my blood run cold. It was the hand of a man I had never seen before, resting casually on the back of her chair, his fingers brushing against her shoulder with an easy intimacy. Beneath the photo, the caption read, "Unapologetically choosing my own peace. Sometimes you have to shed the weight to finally fly." It was accompanied by half a dozen hashtags about self-actualization, personal growth, new chapters, and living authentically. I sat in the darkness, staring at those words as the little red heart icons began to tick upward rapidly. 10 likes, 30, 50. The comment section immediately came alive with validation. Her friends, her sister, and even people from her office poured in with glowing praise. They called her an inspiration. They told her she was absolutely glowing and deserved every bit of happiness. They congratulated her on stepping into her power. As I read through those enthusiastic comments, something profound shifted inside me. The suffocating anxiety that had plagued me for months suddenly evaporated, replaced by a cold, absolute clarity. For nearly a year, Julianne had made me feel like I was losing my mind. She had convinced me that her late nights, her emotional distance, and her sudden, desperate need for constant space were merely the natural results of her demanding career. She had made me feel guilty for wanting her presence, for asking for basic communication. But there it was, laid bare on a public platform. She had already checked out of our marriage. She had simply forgotten to notify me. I tapped on the comment box. My fingers were perfectly steady as I typed out my response. Choosing your own peace is certainly easier when you leave your husband waiting up at home with a cold dinner and a silent house. I am glad the rooftop lounge provided the clarity our marriage couldn't. I hit send, placed the tablet on the coffee table, and waited. The silence of the house was shattered exactly 60 seconds later. My phone, sitting on the side table, began to vibrate violently. Julianne's name flashed across the screen. I did not answer. It stopped, then immediately started again. I declined the call. Within seconds, the text messages began to flood in, a frantic stream of panic. "Take that down right now." "What is wrong with you?" "You are embarrassing me in front of my boss and my colleagues." "Delete it immediately. We can talk when I get home." I ignored the messages. Instead, I refreshed her post. The atmosphere in her comment section had undergone a dramatic transformation. The cheering squad had gone completely silent. One of her co-workers had replied to my comment asking if everything was all right. Another friend had left a series of confused, questioning emojis. The carefully curated image of a modern, independent woman stepping into her power was unraveling in real time under the weight of a simple, uncomfortable truth. But I wasn't finished. 2 weeks prior, after finding a hotel receipt in her car that she couldn't explain, I had secretly consulted a family lawyer. He had drafted a formal separation agreement for me. I had kept those documents locked in my desk drawer, too terrified to actually sign them, desperately hoping that we were just navigating a temporary rough patch. Now, I walked over to my desk, pulled out the paperwork, and took a clear, high-resolution photo of the signature page where my name was already signed and dated. I returned to her post, clicked reply to my own comment, and attached the photo of the signed separation agreement. I added a quiet caption. Since we are sharing our personal growth publicly, here is my new chapter. I will be filing this Monday morning. The bold legal heading of the document was clearly visible. Exactly 2 minutes later, realizing the scale of her mistake, she deleted the post. But the digital footprint remained, and screenshots were already circulating. At 1:42 a.m., her car screeched into the driveway. She burst through the front door, her face flushed with panic and anger. She was still wearing the same elegant cocktail dress from the photo, but the glamorous facade had completely crumbled. "How could you humiliate me like that?" she screamed, brandishing her phone. "You ruined my reputation!" I looked at her calmly from the quiet shadow of the armchair, feeling a strange, hollow sense of complete detachment. "I didn't humiliate you, Julianne. You invited the entire world to celebrate your independence from our marriage. I just decided to stop playing the silent accomplice and added the context you omitted." "That was private," she sobbed. "You don't share legal papers online. And you don't broadcast your single life while your husband waits at home, wondering if you are safe," I replied. She sank onto the sofa, crying. "We can fix this. I will delete the app. I will change. Just don't do this." I shook my head, feeling nothing but a profound sense of finality. "You can delete the post, Julianne, but you cannot delete the truth. You have been gone for a long time, and I am finally catching up." The divorce took 72 days. In court, her social media feed was used as evidence of emotional abandonment. The judge noted that her public actions spoke louder than her private promises. She had desperately wanted to live her best, independent life publicly, so I simply stepped aside and let her do it without me.